What's up, everybody? Gibson's Lawn Service checking back in on this good old Labor Day. Listen, it's a tip I want to put out here. When you lose a good client, now when you lose a good client, so many things can be running through your head. I've lost good clients over the years. Some of them wasn't my fault, and some of them I still don't know the reason. Like the first good client I lost, we just gonna call this dude Mr. Black. I was cutting Mr. Black property. Mr. Black had talked to his neighbor. I started cutting the neighbor property. I had started cutting Mr. Black rental property. And then I had started cutting Mr. Black father's property. So when I pull up to see Mr. Black, he had the money to pay me for 3 properties, right? Now, I still wasn't charging much, but it don't matter. I was still getting a good piece of change off of Mr. Black. Then all of a sudden, Mr. Black say, hey man, my job done slowed down on the hours. I'm not gonna need your services no more. I said, well, Mr. Black, if it's a money issue, you know, you've been good to me. I want to return the favor. He said, nah, I'm gonna start cutting it myself. Since then, Mr. Black has been cutting his yard himself. I never know the reason why. I even lost Mr. Black brother. I was cutting Mr. Black brother's yard too. And Mr. Black, I mean, I never complained. I never had a problem. I don't know. I do know the last time I cut everybody property, I had made a mistake and broke Mr. Black's brother's front screen door. I shattered it. But as soon as I broke it, I went right down to Lowe's, purchased a new one, told him what happened. I said, Mr. Black, brother, I broke your screen door. He said, oh, that's unfortunate. I said, look, I'm about to leave here, go straight to Lowe's and buy your nose. He said, okay, that's fine. Got the door replaced, and then once the door was replaced, he fired me. Then Mr. Black fired me. You know, it was just, hey, man, we're going to start doing it, blah, 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 which is cool. I still don't know why. But I just lost I lost a part of another job recently. And, all right, I'm going to give y'all numbers. This one property was paying me $9.75 a month. That was to come to keep the grass cut every week, keep the shrubs trimmed, and the weeds pulled, $9.75 a month. All right? Now, along the way, I've been maintaining this property for 2 years. Along the way, what happened, I started growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. And it came to a point where I should have said, hey, I can't take on no more work. I said, no, I'm going to keep growing this thing. Growing, 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 growing. I'm busting at the seams now. I got so much work. Well, this $9.75 property, they was kind of coming up on the back end. Not back end, but they was kind of, what I was doing, instead of me hitting the shrubs once a month, I started hitting them once every 5 weeks, you know, but they was never just out of shape. They was never just, oh my God, it looks so bad. It was, I had them. But what got out of shape was the weed pulling. Keeping the weeds pulled, because when you pulling weeds, it is time consuming. And when you got all these properties on your schedule, still got your full-time job, and somewhere along the line, somebody comes up lacking. Whether it's your full-time job, it's one of your clients, your family time, somebody's going to come up lacking. And out of all the properties, that was the one came up lacking. So I pulled up one day to do the shrubs, I pulled the weed, and said, hey, we got somebody else that's going to maintain the shrubs. We just need you from here on out just to keep the grass cut. And mind you, those same flower beds, I would put pine straw down once a year. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the pine straw once a year paid out $2,300, $2,400, somewhere. I know it was over $2,000. I can't remember. So I have a book on it. So I'm sure whoever gonna maintain the bed is gonna end up getting the pine straw. So I don't know. Like I say, you win them and you lose them. And it kind of had me bummed out, but then when I sat back and thought about it, I said, man, if I'm going to be honest with myself, I don't really want to pull weeds anyway. I don't want to pull no weeds because it's too time consuming. Like, think about it. We charge $100 I charge $100 an hour to pull weeds, right? Within that hour, I can go hit 2 $70 properties and be gone. Them weeds, man, I used to like pulling weeds, but now it's just, man, forget pulling weeds. So now I'm to the point, I have one other property I keep the weeds pulled, but that is all I do. I pull up at that one property. I am there. I'm not even there an hour. What I do is I have a property down the street I cut. It's a bi-weekly lawn. So every time I go to that bi-weekly lawn, I will stop there, pull a few weeds, and keep going. I am charging them to come out once a month, $160. I'm not even there 30, 35 minutes. But I said, you know what? Instead of me coming once a month while I be there an hour, every time I come service this bi-weekly property, I'm a stop over there, pull a little weeds, and keep going. That way everything will stay down for $160. So, do I really want to pull weeds? I don't. I will pull weeds to get a landscape job in shape. I would even keep the weeds down as far as maintaining. But the beds they had, it was too many beds. It was too much. And at that time, I was growing and growing and growing. And that was on me. That's my fault. That's my fault I lost that. I take responsibility and blame for that. But when you lose a property or lose a good client, sit back and reflect on why it happened. I know why I lost that one, but I still don't know why I lost Mr. Black. But that's part of life. We're going to keep growing and moving on.